time, right? Good night, everybody who's on Facebook. Thank everybody for viewing on YouTube as well. Apparently, we have a real big audience coming on YouTube. And I want to thank everybody tonight for coming out, because tonight we're going to have a Let Me Be Real night. A real night of transparency. We have a lawyer in the house, so they don't know what time it is. So let me start the show. I'm Kyle Joseph. And you know next to me, Miss Onika Narayan. Let's get Onika something.
Good night.
And I had to make sure I say this person's name correct. I don't want to get locked up. Her name is Alicia George. Right? And then all you know, we had the comedian Mr. Mark Ned in the house. And finally, all the way from New York, Miss Ava Dell.
Oh gosh. One little trip the girl make.
I am not from New York, I am a Trinidad.
What?
New York for 2 weeks and for some reason they can't learn that. But good night everyone, welcome to the Real Talk Show. Remember, to all of you who are viewing, you're always welcome to come on down, be part of the live audience. We are located at number 12 Anna Street, Woodbrook, alright? So guys, tonight we have some awesome giveaways. We have some interesting giveaways. I'm also 100% sure that you have never ever seen this being given away on our show before, but Real Talk is doing it tonight. We are giving away a squatty potty.
Hey! Nice! I can finally sing Let It Go.
It has life-changing health benefits, alright? So if you want to change your life, you just comment for this squatty potty tonight, alright? And of course, we have, as usual, a Häagen-Dazs voucher. We also have 2 awesome Ruby Tuesday vouchers. And for the best, or maybe the squatty potty is actually the best giveaway, but we have another awesome giveaway, which is a 4K sports camera.
What?
Now, guys, this squatty potty, this life-changing device was sponsored by Carl's Construction, guys. That's 3852775. Call Carl's Construction for anything you need, material, you're building a house, whatever it is you need to do construction-wise, you call up Carl's Construction, right? That number again is 3852775. So guys, remember, all you need to do to win these awesome giveaways is make a comment. You have a question, guys. We actually have a lawyer here tonight. Real Talk doing it, right, y'all? We're really doing it tonight. We have a great show in store for you guys. Welcome to everyone that is viewing. And remember, you can send your voice notes to 492-8255. That's 492-TALK. So remember, we want to hear from you. Any questions that you have. We are talking about the burglary law tonight, guys. And I know this stayed up a lot in Trinidad on the whole recently. So guys, we're doing a show on it tonight. We want to hear what your comments, we want to have your questions. We are here to answer and shed some light on the situation or the law itself, alright? So welcome and stay tuned for the awesome giveaways. Remember, all you have to do is comment, right guys? All you have to do is comment, alright? So Kyle, take it away.
Hey! So they don't know what time. If all you squat, all you win. You know what I mean? So I encourage you all to send the comments in.
Just one comedian, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a real beneficial thing, you know.
It is.
Yeah? I want to get one myself. You know what I'm thinking? You know where's that for, Mark? Yeah, that, yeah. You know? He's looking a little lost right now. I don't know if
My
you know.
husband has one, he swears by it. It has never helped me though.
It's only my
No,
business.
you just said it's a top seller on Amazon, which means a lot of people have it.
Wow, it's an interesting thing. So, good night, the first time, yeah?
Yes.
First time Alicia in your house. The first time on camera like this? I don't know, I'm asking. Hey, I'm talking to Mike.
I'm on camera, probably, yeah.
Serious?
Yeah.
Wow, that is good, man. Yeah? Onika, how was the first time you ever on camera? Is that nervous?
I'll have to try to remember when was the first time I was on camera.
You can't remember that time when they can't, when it's
You want to try to make a joke?
I don't want to say it. Anyhow, I don't know it's Larry be real, eh? But anyhow, you know, tonight you're talking about the burglary law. And you know, you went on all the streets looking to find out, because you all know it have something, we didn't even fully know, right? We have a lawyer who was, you were involved in the ruling?
Well, not the ruling.
The ruling, but
I was involved in the matter.
The matter itself, okay, cool. So we know we have an inside woman tonight, right? Who is inside the place, right? And we want to hear what the streets at Trinidad and Tobago thought about what it is going on, right? So let me go to Kilon the Hunter and let me hear what it is. Let me hear the people at Trinidad and Tobago had to say. You know what trouble that is video, the director?
Come on, I guess I'm just a misfit, huh? Yeah. Not coming right now? No, not coming right now? Yeah, I listen, real skinny, loud color change.
Yo, you know the Hunter out there, Real Talk TV Library, really keeping it real long time. Oh, I didn't see me last week. People try to thief my camera and my laptop and things, but you can't keep the Hunter down because he's hunting for the opinions of the people, right? Like, be real. So, we have a hot topic, all you know the thing real hot. You know, this buggery law, and I'm real happy, you know? I'm fed up all the bugs. You know what I mean? Look them right. Cool. What happened? That's not the laws about the banning and the spraying and all the bugs and the pesticide and thing? What do you mean, Joel?
What do you mean? Don't ask me that thing. I just the cameraman, you know. We feel, but he's a kind of clunger. Me ain't getting no more money, you know. Oh, right. Watch, I go quit, yes?
Well, I'm to hear how we get on to. I don't understand. I just asked man a simple question what the law is about. Like, people, this is a touchy topic, boy. Here, what? I know who I go call. They go tell me everything. Don't worry, you feel like I prepared, you know. Let be real.
Hi, Keelan boy, how you going?
Granny, how you going, Granny?
Yeah, Granny, all this food yesterday, even come and check
Yes,
me.
Granny, I'll come over for these stew chicken and kalu. But right now, I'm just asking you about, you know the buggery law? Yeah, I just want to know about it.
The buggery law? You in that?
No, Granny, not me.
Keelan, don't tell me you in Keelan, don't make me come down in there with my own
it's for the show.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, right? You know we just give you the little birds and the bees stories, but this one is not about the birds and the bees. No, this one is about the bird and the bird.
You lie.
The bird and the bird.
I will remember you.
Wait. Alright, so cut. Yeah, bro, tell me what you think about this buggery law thing. You think it should be in or it should be out? What are you for?
It should be out.
Out?
Out.
Well, I don't really think they should ban it. People should be allowed to do what they want to do, but I don't want to support that kind of thinking or mentality, but I can't tell people what to do in their own privacy of the house.
That is an abomination. God destroy a whole city because of this now.
A whole city?
A whole city, right? And for people to come now and want to pass these laws, I think it is a disgrace to our society, especially Trinidad and Tobago.
Especially
Trinidad and Tobago.
You hear what the man say? A whole city. You don't want to be in a whole city and get destroyed, you know. That real peace. You understand? I don't want to get destroyed. I don't know about you, right?
Well, I'm religious. I'm a Christian. And according to the Bible, it's wrong. Right? So for me, I think it's wrong. I mean, God didn't make man to be with man or woman to woman.
Well, first I will have to say that we know the devil, right, is the most evil spirit of all. And imagine, in the Garden of Eden, he looked into the nakedness of Eve and not Adam. So you understand that this is getting wrong too. And he's the most wickedest thing we can think about.
Wait.
Even the devil don't want that man.
Wait! I ain't think about that one hot. Wow.
Yeah, trust me. Even he understand that looking onto a man is wrong. He wanted Eve. So let them think about that.
So tell me, if somebody in your family and they say, you know, uncle, pops, cousin, I on the next side, you know, I do not buggery right now. I don't know, how you feel about that?
Well, he had to dead.
He had to dead. Ooh, fire! Fire upon the dial.
Why the man saying this song? Fire go burn them?
Fire go burn them. That's what the man say.
Yeah, man. You're talking about priests, boy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Priests, men who should know better, who read in the Bible and all them kind of things. our society is going down. Just now the Lord go bust the sky, and them fellas fire go burn.
Well, if this sky burst, I hope I go up and not down. You know what I say? Like, be real.
I will support them because it's not easy to be holding that kind of secret inside. That kind of thing holding that inside does destroy somebody mentally and things. So I will support them for 100.
Yeah, 100 dog. You gotta support them 100. You know what the man had to say?
So what I would say, I will talk to them and try and show them from the Bible that's wrong what they're doing. And if they choose to go that way, that's their choice. You understand? Because my choice is to live for God and to go up in heaven with God.
Yeah, because you know what they say, God is the boss. So
you're on the next side?
On the next side.
You're on the next side?
Far, North Pole side.
Let's be real. You see that fella? Yeah. He busting the gates of hell. What like a bullet train? Faster than that. Fire. Yeah, he gonna bust the gates of hell. Yeah. Trust me, I want that fire different.
Different?
Yeah, that different than what he wanna do. Be on the next side. Trust
real hot.
It's real hot. Hotter fire.
Let we be real.
Let we be real.
Let we be real.
Let we be real. See how easy that was? Simple and easy. Boom.
Well, I keep any on round the applause now. Yeah? Well, they think it easy out there. Benny,
serious comments, boy.
People
are passionate about this thing.
They are very passionate.
They're passionate, and I ain't too sure with some of the points they're trying to make them mad. First time I hear some revelation there, and that
yeah, it was a lot of revelation.
Wow.
So, you know, let me get into the meathead one time, right? So, first thing I would like to know, I guess, where's the buggery going? Where that come from? What that is? I don't know.
Okay, well, first let me say we're not condoning any. One of your commenters said something about, well, we had to kill you or something.
Yeah,
we are not condoning violence against anybody at all. Anyone who may be of this persuasion. It's not up to us to make that judgment. I believe that's God's doing, you know, for God to do. But what the buggery law is, the buggery law is really, it's also known as sodomy. And what that is, and we're on real talk, right? So we're going to talk real. What that is anal sex. Right. Okay. And it's anal sex. I mean, the negative connotation of buggery laws has become that it's anal sex between men and men, right? Or men who have sex with men. But in our legislation, which we will get into in a little bit, it also speaks to anal sex with or between heterosexuals. So a man and a woman having anal sex is also considered an offense under the laws.
Really?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what the buggery law is. Where did we get the buggery law? The buggery law is something that has really been transplanted to us through our colonizers, or then colonizers. Okay. But even before it came to Trinidad and Tobago under what was the Offenses Against the Persons Act in 1925, the buggery law was something that existed even from the 13th century or so, right? From 1210, or the year 1210. It goes back that far. And before we got to it being part of our laws, essentially we had persons, well-known jurists or judges like Blackstone and Sir Edward Coke. These are well-known jurists. We still have laws, the Blackstone law books that lawyers look at today for guidance. And so these are laws or jurists who believed fundamentally in the Christian principle that spoke to or spoke against the act of buggery. Right? And in and around maybe 1865 or so, the buggery laws would have moved from that period in 1210 to around 1865 or so is where you had the English, what was it called? The English, oh no, sorry, I mixed up my years there. You had, I'm missing it.
You got mine, right?
I'm missing it, but you had a law, and it was in 1865. 1865 would have been when the Colonial Laws Validity Act came into being, and that would have been during the time of colonization,
right,
when the crown wanted to ensure that persons took the law as valid and they saw the law for what it is. So at that point in time is when the law would have been transplanted into the colonies.
Mm-hmm.
And before 1867 is when you would have had, like I said, jurists, well-known jurists, using the Christian principles to create case law or common law. Right. And then when it came into the colonies, the law moved from the colonies and moved to, hold on. This is where I found it. The English Offences Against the Persons Act is when it moved from the 1210 throughout colonization, and then in the United Kingdom you had the English Offences Against the Person Act, and that is really where we got our Offences Against the Persons Act in 1925.
There's a question I hear you said like it came from like maybe the Christian point of view that they followed. But we know the whole world is now run by Christian government. So I want to ask this, right? Is it maybe legally, right? Illegal. Is there any country ever that maybe legally, right? I'm about legally, right? That ever was not against homosexuality? Well, I mean, it's like.
Well, that's quite a question you're asking
really.
me. I have not done that research.
If you don't know the answer, that's cool.
Yeah, I have not done the research to be able to answer you whether or not if there's any country ever. Yeah. But remember where our laws come from. We get our laws from the United Kingdom, right? Because of colonization, right? And so what I'm really giving you where what I'm really telling you where this particular law is concerned is that it came from even before the period of colonization.
Right.
Because it was based on biblical principles.
Okay.
Right? And then you had the period of colonization where the actual law was transplanted.
Okay.
And then you moved from colonization to this English Offences Against the Persons Act of, I think it was 18... Anyway, what year? It was in the 19th century, and then that was eventually transplanted and became Offences Against the Persons Act 1925 in Trinidad and Tobago. Okay. So that is the sort of transient line that it went from to get to Trinidad and Tobago.
I guess the person who was in court was Jason Jones, is his name?
So Jason Jones is the person who would have challenged our law.
Right.
Now, it's certainly not Offences Against the Persons Act anymore.
Okay.
Currently, the legislation is the Sexual Offences Act of 1986. And so the law moved again from the 1925 Act to our current 1986 Act, which has been amended a couple times since 1986. But essentially, that is the Offences Against the Person Act. And Jason Jones challenged sections 13 and 16 of that act, the current act, the 1986 Act. And he essentially indicated that the mere existence of sections 13 and 16 of the act...
Specifically, what is sections 13 and 16?
I'll get into it. Let me just tell you what his challenge is first.
Okay, cool.
His challenge is that those sections 13 and 16 discriminate against him by their mere existence.
Right.
Discriminate against his right to privacy, his right to family life, his right to equality under the law.
Family life, interesting. But
right, right. And so section 13 of the Sexual Offences Act is the Buggery Law. That's what that is.
Oh, okay.
Is it that you want to know what it says?
No, not necessarily what it says, but like what in the Buggery Act? Because also in the Buggery Act it have things like
it's not the
rape.
Buggery Act.
Oh, okay.
It's called the Sexual Offences Act.
Oh,
so there are other sexual offences under that act.
Right.
And so he is challenging section 13 and 6, or he challenged section 13 and 16 of that act.
Okay.
Right? And section 13 in particular was the Buggery Law. And the buggery, it's short, I could read it for you.
Sure,
okay.
A person who commits the offense of buggery is liable on conviction to imprisonment for 25 years.
25 years?
Right. In this section, buggery means sexual intercourse per annum, meaning anal sex, by a male person with a male person, or by a male person with a female person. Right? So that's the law. That's the law in the books at the moment. And that's the buggery law.
16.
Section 16 is a little longer. I wouldn't read all of it, but section 16 is the section that deals with serious indecency.
Okay.
And serious indecency is defined as an act of An act of serious indecency is an act other than sexual intercourse, whether natural or unnatural. So essentially, any act that is not sexual intercourse. So whether that sexual intercourse is natural or unnatural, sexual indecency deals with like fondling and so forth. So let me finish it. An act of serious indecency is an act other than sexual intercourse, whether natural or unnatural, by a person involving the use of the genital organ for the purpose of arousing or gratifying sexual desire.
So even that was illegal?
So that was illegal as well, and it's called serious indecency, right? And so it's probably fondling, it's probably, what could probably fit in there, maybe oral sex.
Against somebody's will or wanted?
No, we're talking about consensual.
But is that related to, like, to same genders or even male and female?
Well, the serious indecency, which was, I mean, now you had different arguments in the case, right? You had Jason Jones, who would have put his arguments on the table, and then you had the state who would have put their arguments, and then I was instructing attorney for the Trinidad and Tobago Council of Evangelical Churches, along with senior counsel Elton Prescott. And so you had persons who would have been indicating their different arguments. And so one of our arguments was that he didn't even fit into section 16.
Right.
We thought that it really didn't apply to him, and therefore he had no, what we call standing. He had no legal standing to challenge this section.
Correct, yes,
That was our argument, which was rejected, but that was our argument. Right? And so you have the Jason Jones and his attorneys would have said that they believed both Section 13 and 16 discriminated against him, and for the reasons I indicated before. And then you had the state who was saying that no, it doesn't. And in particular, they were using the mechanism of the Constitution, because this was a constitutional challenge, right? This wasn't just, somebody getting up there and saying, hey, this law is against me. Their challenge was based on the Constitution, and essentially what Jason Jones was saying was that our enshrined rights are in Section 4 of the Constitution, 4 and 5. And he was saying my enshrined right to be a homosexual or to participate in this activity, my enshrined right to create a family under his definition, my enshrined right to, or human right to, equality under the law is being violated by these sections. And he was saying that the section of the Constitution that would get rid of this law would be Section 13 of the Constitution. This, and which I will tell you about in a little bit. Section 6 of the Constitution is where the state was saying, no, Section 6 of the Constitution saves this law, and I'll explain that as well. And we also agree that Section 6 will save the law. So let's talk about the Constitution a little bit. What is Section 6 of the Constitution and what is Section 13? Section 6 and 13, I have dubbed them like guardians of the Constitution, guardians of the legislation. There are other guardian pieces of sections or guardian sections within the Constitution, but I've dubbed these two guardians. Section 6 is a savings clause. So you know how I said to you about the history of the law and where it came from. So before we became independent, we would have been under colonial laws. Right? So once we became independent and then a republic, there was need to save certain pieces of legislation on the books. And so, Section 6 of the Constitution is a savings clause. And it does exactly that. Pieces of legislation that would have existed before the 1967 Constitution would have been saved. And so that's why the Offenses Against the Persons Act came in of 1925, because that was our old law. And so the argument was that the move from the 1925 Act to the 1986 Act, the current Act, was saved by the Constitution, right? Jason Jones was saying, no, it's not saved, because essentially it's a new law. He's saying there's no real movement from the 1925 Act to the 1986 Act. He's saying the new Act, or 1986, is a new Act. A new law is under it. It's not saved. And you see how you were gassed about the 25-year difference? Well, the 1925, for the penalty, the 1925 Act only had a penalty of 5 years for this Act. Okay. And we have moved somehow from the 5 years to 25 years.
Strange.
And so,
you think it...
They get less, they get more.
Well, you would expect over time for it to increase, but maybe the increase... The increase, maybe because what happens, you're taking me into a whole other area, what happens with drafting of laws is that you want to always have an across-the-board consistency with laws. And so when you're drafting laws, when you're drafting penalties, you always look as time goes by to see what the laws are doing in terms of that area. And there's usually an increase depending on what the laws are. How big the increase is depends again on the type of law that you're talking about. But anyway, he was saying that one of his arguments, in addition to the fact that Section 6 of the Constitution doesn't save the Act, is that he was saying this penalty is so egregious. It's moved from 5 years to 25 years. And because of the huge shift in this penalty, it's cruel and unusual.
Online, what do you think about the 25 years? I want to hear your opinion on that, right? I find that as interesting thing, 25 years,
Yeah.
I know people, saying all kind of stuff, but they don't really know 25. I hear it, see, like 25 years.
25 years of murder too.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because back in the day, the Buggery law emitted a penalty of capital punishment, death.
Wow.
And then it moved from death
to now imprisonment.
In the UK, in the UK it moved from death to life imprisonment.
Oh.
And then the same year that the English Offences Against the Persons Act, I think it was 1865, the same year that it moved from life imprisonment. I mean, it moved from the death penalty to life imprisonment. And then somehow, I don't know what happened in between there, but by the time we took it on, it was 5 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
So I have a question along the line, so I don't know if you know the answer again to this, right? But anybody ever get locked up in Trinidad for this?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, I don't want to say an absolute no. I don't know that no one has ever gotten locked up, but I know for sure it's not a section of the law that we use frequently. Yeah. It's very infrequent. It's almost a dormant law in the book.
Oh, okay. That would be interesting. I just really wanted to know, like, if there's anybody who actually ever get,
And is Jason Jones the first person
to challenge it in this way? As far as I'm aware, yes.
Okay, right? Yeah.
And so, let's see. So that was his argument with regards to Section 6. I told you there were two sections of the Constitution that were guardians. The Savings Clause, which is Section 6, and then Section 13 of the Constitution. So Section 13 of the Constitution speaks to Parliament being able to make laws, even if those laws are in contravention to our human rights. So the same rights that I mentioned, the enshrined laws in Section 4, where he was talking about the right to family and the right to privacy and that kind of stuff, that's where our human rights are, in Section 4 and 5 of the Constitution.
Okay.
Parliament can make laws that contravene those rights as long as they get a 3/5 majority. I'm sure you guys have heard that, about the 3/5 majority.
Yeah, we hear about that already. Yeah, we know about that one, but we just heard about
Okay, well.
Yeah, we know about that one, but yeah.
Parliament can make laws that are in contravention with our human rights if they get a 3/5 majority.
Okay.
Right? And so that's what happened with the Sexual Offences Act of 1986. They stated, because this is one of the requirements, that it does contravene Sections 4 and 5 of the Constitution, and they got the 3/5 majority. Okay. However, there's a caveat or an exception in that same section, and this is where and how the case was won by Jason Jones. The exception in Section 13 says that even after you've contravened Section 4 and 5 of the Constitution and you've gotten your 3/5 majority, a law can still be struck down if it is found not to be not reasonably justifiable in a society that has a proper respect for the rights and freedoms of the individual.
Okay.
So essentially, they said this law is not reasonably justifiable, or it's unreasonable. It's unreasonable. It's not justifiable.
Right.
Okay.
Right? And the court agreed with them that it's not justifiable. It's not reasonable.
Okay, so what we understand so far the different sections where it come into. So the conclusion right now is, so could they have an appeal? Is anybody appealing the law or anything like that? Asking the ruling, I should say.
So the ruling is first. It says that these laws are unconstitutional. These sections,
right?
Of the law, section 13 and 16, are unconstitutional as far as it relates to criminalizing, which is what this section does, right? As far as it relates to criminalizing sexual intercourse between consenting adults.
Okay.
Right? So we're just talking about, I know some people are worried about their children and their boy children and their
yeah, that's why I was wondering,
This has nothing to do with that. This is between consenting adults.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? So as far as the law criminalizes this act between consenting adults, the court has found that it's unconstitutional.
Okay.
We now have a couple weeks. We were given until the 1st of June to make a submission with regards to what do we now do with the law. So Jason Jones, his attorneys, the state, and interested parties. I didn't explain to you what that was, but we were just one of 3 interested parties in the matter. So interested parties are now allowed to make submissions about what we do with the law that the judge has now said it's unconstitutional.
Okay.
And so once that is finalized, what can happen, to answer your question, is that an appeal can happen. But the only entity in this entire matter that can appeal would be the state.
Okay, interesting stuff for we want to hear. No, I mean to be on the spot, right, Alicia, but people love to ask questions. So if you have a question directed to you, it's up to you if you're willing to answer it, right? So let me hear this going on online, Dave.
Alright, so we have a few comments, but guys, remember, in order for you to win something, you have to make a comment, right? I may be able to see some of you that are viewing, but you don't win like that, right? You have to make a comment in order to win, right? Or you can simply send a voice note. So we had some questions from Kerwin, but let me first say good night to Liz Singh, Crystal Martin, Daniel J. We have Tevin, Roseanne Bernard, good night to you. We have Theresa. We also had Avenel Hector, good night to you, and thank you for viewing and being part of the show. We have Krista Gordon, big up to everyone who's online, Vanessa Romaine. So let's get to one of Kerwin's comments, right? He says, I'm not sure if this may have been answered earlier. His question was, is this something that can go to the Privy Council on what law is presently effective in the UK? So I'm going to state the other question as well, so you could probably answer them one time. Do you need me to reread that?
The last part of that, what law is what?
He says, is this something that can go to the Privy Council on what law is presently effective in the UK? The other question he had, would you say this is a stepping stone, and soon same-sex couple will be able to adopt children in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, that question we answer in the second segment.
We're going to get towards that in the second segment, so make sure you stay tuned. But for that other question, you can probably go ahead and answer that one time.
Okay, so yes, it is likely. If the state appeals the matter, the next place it will go first is the Court of Appeal. After the Court of Appeal, if it is affirmed in the Court of Appeal, then the next place that it will go is the Privy Council. And so the Privy Council is where the final decision is going to be made on the matter if it is appealed all the way up. In terms of what the law is effective in the UK, currently the United Kingdom does not have a bundle law. It's been removed. And as we know, or some of us may know, they are open to same-sex marriages and the like and the like.
Okay.
So that's that answer there for you, Kerwin, what she said. Alright, so Kerwin also said, one sinner destroys much good. Normally, one person can affect an entire nation, such as Roe versus Wade promoting abortion in America. Today, this lady is now against abortion, I believe. Alright, we also had Daniel J. He said, make it 50 years. That's a lot there. Good night to Aaron Hossein. Oh, by the way, crowd, get ready, right? Because the crowd giveaway is coming up.
Ooh, such a big crowd.
So he's coming. Alright, so Aaron Hossein, good night to you and thank you for your comment. He says, this is my point. Where is the statistical data where we can see where this law was used in Trinidad and Tobago to target the LGBT community?
So it's the same question,
yeah,
kind of like
we
ask, that it really have, it's not
We also had Junior Alexis, good night to you. He says churches need to come out of its comfort zone and from behind the walls of the church. So I guess he's saying that we should come out and...
But they did.
She's saying not supposed to, they did. That she's right there representing somebody, you know what I mean?
So we have one representative right here, and that was Junior Alexis. But thank you for your comment.
It's true, it's true.
Avenel said Kevin can't win. Don't worry, one day he might just win something. Even a lovely lady sitting right there on the panel. Mark Ned said good night, Kevin. Mark Ned asking to win money. Mark, you can't win, you're on the panel. We also had J. Bird Blackman, good night to you. He said, would the repeal of such law create a loophole?
I don't know if it creates a loophole. I mean, right now, because first of all, the law has not yet been repealed. Right. It's just been deemed unconstitutional, null and void. So it's almost as if it doesn't even exist.
Right.
Okay.
But there is nothing in place yet because the final decision about the law has to be made. And it is only when a decision is made as to what is going to happen with the law that we could really even answer that question. I mean, one of the things that we would have discussed as well is that the existence of the law hasn't really stopped people from doing or not doing this act.
That's true.
That's so true.
I mean, that's just a fact, you know, regardless of what people may want to say. And so there are many people who didn't even know the law existed, and they went ahead doing...
I didn't even know you could get locked up on it, you know?
Yeah, and they went ahead doing whatever they want to do anyway. And when you have a law in the books that's not really being enforced...
Yeah, it's kind of inevitable, actually, that, you know, I mean, it actually took pretty long for them to get there. I mean, I'm not condoning it, but, you know.
It is what it is, eh?
It's literally a dormant law.
All right. Anything else? Cool. Let's see. We actually also had a voice note, so we're gonna listen to that voice note, and then I'm going to go to that crowd giveaway. All right, guys. So get ready for the crowd giveaway, and it's going to be one of the best gifts, by the way, guys. So get ready. Okay. So we believe the voice note was from Keelan, so you can go ahead and play the voice note, guys.
Yo, real talk. What's the vibes? You know, I just hunting out here, still working hard. Like, be real, right? So I just want to ask all you. What do you think about this buggery thing? Because if you really think about it, the law say they're supposed to lock up somebody if they're doing buggery. But when you go in jail and they may still be doing buggery, you get an extended life sentence or something when you're doing it in jail. I don't know. I find that a little strange now. They're implementing it out of jail but not in. Anyways, let it be.
Alright, cool. Alright.
It is a valid point though.
I suppose. I don't even know how to answer that.
I think, also in jail it's illegal. I can't rape nobody in jail, legally.
Wait, hold on, let's not confuse. Let's not confuse the things. Buggery doesn't necessarily mean rape.
I know, but I'm just saying that it's still illegal to do something like that.
In jail, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not going to say how.
How you know? Right. The point is, whether in or out of jail, the existence of the law meant that it was illegal, right? And just the same way that persons committed the act out of prison, I suppose they did it within prison walls.
So the people who rape people in jail, they get locked up twice then?
I cannot answer that. Okay?
No, they committed a crime. They're breaking our section. Nobody's serious about anyhow. Anything else going on like that?
Well, we're going to go to the giveaway right now. So let me, who is going to go up for that giveaway or what?
You're not giving away one online?
No, she's going for the first in the crowd.
I'm going to do Aniki, you want to take my...
Sorry.
I'm just joking. Alright, so we have Tevin. Tevin is going to be answering the questions, right? Yes, no.
Wait, now Rihanna here?
What is the question?
Yeah, that's not a question. That's not fair, by the way, to give the question and then you all go up, then what's the point? But anyway, I'll do it, right? Okay, so the question is, who was the first ever gold medalist for the Trinidad track and field athlete at the 2018 Commonwealth Games?
The first person who won a gold medal in Trinidad?
The first Tevin. Okay, wait. Come on, y'all. Make up your mind. Online? Tevin is going. Tevin needs a mic. We're waiting on Tevin. Tevin is just spouting his face and stuff before he goes on camera. He wants to make sure he's looking, you know, at his best. Tevin, do you need me to repeat that question?
Yes, ma'am.
That means you don't really know the answer. You're going to try to take a little more. Nobody is the prompts in the crowd. No Google stuff, guys, okay? So the question is, who was the first ever gold medalist for the female Trinidadian track? Shucks, I was kind of giving away the answer. Shucks.
Jeez.
Yeah, but he might still not know it though. This Tevin we talking
at the
about
Commonwealth Games, yes, in 2018. The first ever.
Ready for a minute?
Yeah, ready for it.
Okay, so I believe that young lady name was
Is? She's alive and living.
Yeah, well, okay, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Is Michelle Ayi.
You're kind of missing a little part of her name.
You're missing a little part of her name.
When you say Michelle Obama?
Michelle Ayi.
Oh, okay.
That is what it is.
There's another part of her name.
There's, should I give it to him, you know?
Yeah. But that's
Michelle Lee, it's fine, you win, you win.
Hey, they wait till she bird paper everything, but
anyway.
Yeah, they want the bird paper, everything.
I win all there.
And guys, Tevin, I'm so sorry, but the best giveaway is going to go to Tevin. He is the winner of the Squatty Potty.
Hey, Tevin, I will take that away. Go, Tevin.
Are you ready for those bowel movements?
You get through, Tevin.
He thought he was winning the camera.
Tevin visits the toilet, y'all, is going to be awesome, and that will be thanks to Real Talk. So every time he visits the toilet, he's going to remember us and how we added to his life and his health, alright? So congratulations to Tevin. And guys, remember, all you have to do is comment to win, right? You must comment to win, alright? So let me remind you all of the awesome giveaways. We have the Häagen-Dazs voucher, and we also have 2 Ruby Tuesday vouchers, and the very best giveaway, the best, Tevin just won the best giveaway. The second best giveaway, which is the 4K sports camera. It's HD, it's a wearable design, it's actually waterproof, so you can go on the water, guys, awesome stuff. And it has full motion photography, okay, some great stuff. So all you have to do is comment, send a voice note, and you can be one of the winners, alright? And remember, every 20 minutes, we're going to have a giveaway. 20 minutes or so, because Kyle's talk a little extra sometimes, alright?
Nice.
So we're going to go back to the panel now.
Hey, well, give whoever is around the applause there now, man, eh? Hey, that's what we talking about. Well, I can see my face now, I can see all in all. You know, we just said to all the tuning in, now coming in, encourage everybody to share and like the feed. Remember the WhatsApp, you'll see to the bottom, we'll send in all the voice notes. I know when somebody hunter, you're hunting for some wrong questions, but just like a recap in a nutshell, that I guess we stating that any law that is passed, all is sin is null. It's not, nobody gonna get locked up again technically, right? If it is they committing any kind of act like this, asking. Homosexuals asking. That's like people China when if it is rape happen, they're not gonna get away with it, right? Because that's what the society
kind of think.
Some people say thinking.
Okay, so I have to repeat that rape and buggery are 2 different things.
That's what we'll make sure, you know?
Seem meant to be lumping them together.
Right.
Persons who commit the act of rape can still be charged and jailed.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah,
so it's not about rape. This matter only speaks to persons who consent to having sex, as long as you're not consenting to sexual intercourse, whether it's buggery or whatever it is, it will be considered rape, and there are still laws on the books to deal with rape.
Right.
Nice. So moving on to this segment, and we want to know maybe the future legally, and also what maybe it will look like, what maybe I think is the next move, right? Because they challenge maybe if it's illegal, they state like maybe they have their opinions, and they say they have their rights, which is every human obviously have their rights to do what they choose. Maybe in your own opinion, right? I don't know. You tell me, right? I don't know. Is it I don't know if you should answer this, right?
You mean what is to happen from here? Is
that yeah.
And also we could answer that based on what we see in the more developed countries, you know, where it took them.
Well, more than likely, again, when we get to the point of the law actually being struck down.
Right.
Because right now it's been deemed unconstitutional. Nothing has actually been done with the law yet because the current case isn't even finalized.
Right.
And even when this current case is done, you still have to deal possibly with appeals.
Okay.
So appeal to the Court of Appeal and then appeal probably to the Privy Council. And it's only at that point when the decisions are final, all the way up to the Privy Council, that we are likely to see some of the major effects. Now, you're talking about in other jurisdictions, what has happened is that once this law is out the door, essentially what happens is possibly calls for same-sex marriages. One of the other things that can possibly happen even before this law, even before it's finalized, is that the Equal Opportunities Commission can call for amendments to the Equal Opportunities Act.
Okay.
So currently, the Equal Opportunities Act specifically excludes sexual orientation and sexual preference. And so currently, persons who may be committing that act, let's say someone is charged for this offense, and they want to say that they are protected. There's no protection for them in the law anywhere. Or let's say someone is being discriminated against in their workplace because they are homosexual or they exhibit certain behaviors. There's nothing in the law that protects them because currently the law that speaks to discrimination in our country, which is the Equal Opportunities Act, doesn't include them. And so it's very possible that the Equal Opportunities Commission, who was one of the interested parties in this matter, and who signed on with Jason Jones or endorsed his claim, they're already clamoring for changes to the Equal Opportunity Act.
Right. Which means, so as it is now, if I discriminate against someone because of their race, what can happen? They can take me to court.
Right. You can be fined. There's an offense for that under the Equal Opportunities Act.
And what can happen now is that if I discriminate against you because you're homosexual, let's say I don't want to hire somebody who is homosexual, that person can take me to court. Or if I don't want to bake a cake for someone.
Right. So that can't happen yet.
Right.
Because what I'm saying,
Equal Opportunity.
Right. Because that's what I'm saying is that they are not currently protected under the Equal Opportunities Act.
Right.
And so that cannot yet happen. Right. But that is likely where we're going.
Wow.
And as you know, you mentioned about the making of a cake. There are situations, and I think this one happened in the U.S. Where someone said that they would make a cake for a same-sex couple, and they were taken to court. But that is because in the U.S., you now have the law completely removed, and you even have a law that says that, aside from them having rights, a law that now says that same-sex marriage is legal. And so they can get married in the United States. And so now someone went to a bakery and tried to get a cake made, and the person who is the owner of that bakery, I believe, was a believer, a Christian, and they refused to bake the cake, and there was fallout. Then you also have Kim Davis. This was another situation that happened in the U.S. as well, another state in the United States, where she was, I think, a registrar, and she refused to register a marriage, and she ended up in jail.
Wow.
Right? She was jailed, and then I think she ended up having to be demoted in her job because she was the registrar, and demoted to the point that any same-sex couple that came in, she refused to sign, and so they let someone else sign in her stead, right? And I believe her title was changed. I think she was demoted to some degree. And so there's a concern, there's a real concern that these things will begin to transpire, once the Buggery law is removed, and
wow, that's serious.
Yeah, I find it interesting, yeah.
Could you speaking to your child and advising them that you think a heterosexual relationship is that you're not for, like a homosexual relationship, would that be considered
Well, that is very private. I mean, more than likely you would have that conversation with your child in your room,
Privately.
and nobody would know about that. But what is more likely to happen is, for example, evangelism. Right? Down the road, what is more likely to happen is that we can't go on the streets anymore and say, you know, homosexuality is wrong, homosexuality is a sin, homosexuality is an abomination. What is also more likely to happen is that pastors will not be able to stand in their pulpits and say that either. And also what is likely to happen is that pastors who refuse, let's say we get to the point where same-sex marriages are allowed, pastors who may refuse to marry same-sex couples could lose their license.
So I guess on maybe your side, seeing this from the Christian point of view, is there certain, I guess, laws you all could put, or is this a discussion to go back? Because is it fair that maybe because you know you think about the Christian belief, or any belief, Muslim, anybody, right? And they like the Muslims as well, they don't believe in same-sex marriage, right? So how it is now they going to force their belief on somebody else's belief?
Well, that is the view, you know, that many of us hold, because essentially what has happened is that, you know, their rights are being, not just in Trinidad and Tobago, but around the world, you know, around the globe, their rights are being touted as, you know, their rights. And the rest of us are like, well, you can't infringe on their rights. And the question always arises, well, what about our rights? In Trinidad and Tobago, we also have the right to religious beliefs and conscience that is protected under the Constitution. We also have the right to freedom of expression that is protected under the Constitution. And so it's very likely down the road that, you know, challenges could be made under those sections for us, you know. But it wasn't done in this case because that's not what we were dealing with.
That's not the stats and now it's maybe the future.
We were dealing very specifically with whether or not these sections, 13 and 16 of the Sexual Offences Act, discriminated against persons like Jason Jones, and whether or not Section 6 and Section 13 of the Constitution protected the legislation.
Okay.
Wow.
So is there, so the future is that maybe one of the ways they want to, I guess, tackle or they're going against, anytime that will be same-sex marriage, particularly kind of, you're saying like rights. So maybe the rights could be dealing with first, well, maybe job, you know, stuff like that, right? So now when maybe marriage and maybe adoption, that's one of the questions I think one of the viewers had.
Well, I mentioned earlier that same-sex marriages is one of the things that is likely to come down the line. It's with the Bugby law removed, it's now an open, it's an open door really, for certain things to happen. So same-sex marriages, yes, people calling for adoption of same-sex couples calling for adoption, that's possible. Then you have comprehensive sexual education, that is another thing. That is a huge issue. It's rampant in Canada and in other jurisdictions that have removed the Bugby laws. And I even heard, I mean, it's not far, because I was driving down the road Monday morning when I was going to do the program on 107, and I heard them play a clip of a young lady who was speaking in some forum, I'm not sure, and she was advocating comprehensive sexual education in Trinidad and Tobago. And so comprehensive sexual education, for those of you who may not know, is talking about the teaching our children in the school curriculum about their bodies and telling them, sort of breaking down their defenses, breaking down what you may have been teaching them at home, and telling them that it's okay for them to touch themselves and it's okay, you know, to decide at a very young age whether they are male or female. It's okay if they feel these urges from a very young age. This is what comprehensive sexual education is, and they're already talking about
children get to decide.
Yes, children.
Interesting that I thought they're born that way though.
In Canada, it's like that already. Am I right?
In Canada, that is already part of their curriculum.
That's interesting stuff. I want to give that is I guess the end for this segment. So I'm going to go on here with this going on online. But before, I guess we want to hear any comments in case you have any questions to ask. So give out let me hear this going on online there first.
We had Jaybird Blackman. This person said, would the repeal of such law create a loophole? But that's what
you asked that already.
Right?
Yeah.
But then I saw something else from Jaybird. Let me see. Where is it? Alright, I'll come up to that eventually. But Kerwin said, I don't agree with Onika that it is inevitable. Uganda is an example of a nation that has taken a strong stand against homosexuality. And obviously, if Kerwin were here, he would have lost because he said he is the Crawford. And then he tried to cover it up, and then he said Commonwealth. I didn't listen. But it's alright, Kerwin. You weren't here anyway, so maybe next time save your comments. We had Arlene Portia. She says, can I have the Ruby Tuesday voucher? Pretty, please. It's not that easy. I know I made it
just ask, right?
I know I said just make a comment, but sorry, make a comment
She
of some
listening.
substance. Right, I know I saw something else from David Blackman. Please shed light on the saving law clause and its application in this context.
Yeah, go ahead.
The savings clause, section 6 of the Constitution, like I said, it's pretty much about whether or not, I actually went into this a little bit, it's about whether or not legislation, before we would have become independent, before we would have become a republic, whether or not legislation that was left on the books, whether those pieces of legislation is saved or are saved. And the argument in our case was that the argument by the state and the argument by the Trinidad and Tobago Council of Evangelical Churches was that section 6 of the Constitution does save the legislation. The court didn't agree with us. The court agreed with Jason Jones and said that the legislation is not saved, and the reason it gave that it wasn't saved is that it looked at section 13 of the Constitution and said that because Parliament had already indicated that the rights of individuals are going to be violated, and because they went and they got their 3/5 majority, it's almost an admission on Parliament's part that they breached those rights. And so because the rights were breached, you can't now use what the court was, what is established law. You can't say that there's a presumption towards constitutionality. There's a lot of technical stuff that I'm trying not to get into to confuse you guys because I'm trying to break it down. Sure. But essentially the court said there's no presumption of constitutionality when Parliament has already said we're breaching your rights, right? Okay. And because there's no presumption of constitutionality, which is required when you're looking at a section 6 savings clause or when you're looking at a savings clause, the court said it doesn't apply. And so they put aside section 6 and dealt with section 13 of the Constitution.
Okay. Thank you for that.
I'm sure I confused them a lot more, but yeah.
He get the answer, man. He get the answer.
Colin actually also said, what if a church is forced to hire a homosexual as a counselor or similar position?
Well, that's the future. I mean, that's not, you know, as it is now. That's the future.
It's a statement, I guess. So Jabel Blackman also said, do you think that the gender or sex definition would have to change should such measures be persuaded in light of the law being struck down?
Well, that is what the Equal Opportunities Commission is attempting to do. Because as I would have indicated before, currently in the in the Equal Opportunities Act, it is not included. So currently in the Equal Opportunities Act, sexual preference, the term sexual preference and the term sexual orientation is specifically excluded. And in order, and in order for them to be now protected under that act, it will have to be included in the act.
Okay.
All right, we also have something from Aaron Hosine. He said, thank you for this information being shared, opening our eyes to the aim of the society, infiltrate the society.
The aim of this society to infiltrate.
This society. Okay,
that's all right, man.
Alan Portia actually said it's a hidden agenda. They are taking it one step at a time. So guys, let me remind you all, Miss George is actually going to be coming off of this segment. So if you have any questions, you're going to have to squeeze them in really quickly, like right now, in case you have any questions for her specifically, because remember, the rest of them don't really know anything. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and give that first giveaway. Arlene Gill, I feel it for you, so I'm going to give you this Ruby Tuesday giveaway. Just
It's Arlene unbelievable.
All you have to do is make a comment, and she actually made another comment after. Alright, so you are the winner. Congratulations to Arlene. So you'll see how easy it is, right? You just make a comment, and you could be the winner of one of these awesome prizes. Just to remind you all, you can send in your voice notes to 492-8255. That's 492-TALK. And some of our giveaways were actually sponsored by Carl's Construction. That number is 385-2775. And remember, this awesome giveaway here is still to come. We usually do that at the end of the show, guys. So you'll still have some time to make a good comment.
Kerwin try to win that, huh?
A real comment. Who's that, Kerwin?
Kerwin, yeah. Why he can't win it?
Because Kerwin. Can you continue?
Alright, so guys, remember, you still have some time. We still have some more going into the show. So remember, you can still have a chance to win one of these giveaways.
If I need to cut anybody ask any other questions to the lawyer?
I'm about to check that before you all just want to take over to it. Yes, Arlene said yay. Representative Kyle and Mark, let me see. People just saying they want prizes. You all, it don't work this week. It don't work like that, right? I just did that for Arlene.
Yeah.
It don't work like that. And no, I'm not seeing any other questions directed to Ms. George. So thank you so much for coming on.
We want to thank you so much for coming.
It was awesome having you.
Yeah.
A lot of information.
Are you sticking around? You're sticking around until the end of the show? Asking. Are they favorite?
What time?
In about 20 minutes most. Yeah, we
actually in overtime.
Yeah, we're in overtime because you know a lot of information passing. The reason being, if anybody has any questions, again, you could shoot it to us.
You'll actually have the opportunity, Ms. George. She will be on the panel, but she will be here. So in the event you have any questions that she will have to answer, you still have that option of posting it, and she will come back on afterwards just to answer your question. All right. So guys, we are now bringing on Crystal Martin. Good night to the beautiful, lovely, awesome Crystal Martin.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
All that's beautiful, awesome. How come you never tell me?
Because they're here all the time.
I like
and
her
that's
a
why.
little more. Just a little bit more.
It's Crystal Martin singer.
How you reach here? How you reach here?
We continue bigging it up. We continue bigging it up. You're getting big up.
Thanks a lot, Eva.
Hey, good night. You were breaking bread last night.
Yes, I was.
I was breaking bread last night.
Face look familiar. Face look familiar.
That's the new face from. Okay. You know, in this segment of the show, we want to talk about maybe like a Christian response and also the Christian point of view. You know, because I want to ask maybe Onika a question, right? As the pastor on the panel here.
Yes. Pastor's home.
Pastor Onika Narayan.
He's home.
Yeah, that the whole of the church knows. Yeah, Pastor Onika Narayan. I would like to ask that question, right? I know I saw a lot in the comments that people saying fire upon them. I see a lot of questions. Now, when we say fire upon them, talking about like specifically homosexuality. I would like to know maybe on what is your view on maybe the law being null as they're saying that? Is it something you think like so terrible you would comment at end, or is it that you think fire go burn them asking?
Oh gosh, well first of all, as Alicia said, the law was basically dormant anyway. I personally don't think, and I'm sure there's nobody who could argue with me, that law stopped anybody from engaging in buggery, right?
Right.
People did not even know that the law existed. I did not know it was against the law to engage in buggery, right? So it really had no effect. I don't think that law had any effect on society prior to this.
Right.
Yeah. Right? So strange enough, yeah, people were going on with their lives, they knew nothing about it, you know. But now, though, that it has come to the forefront, I can see where it can have an effect on society. Not that people are now going to engage more, or, you know, but I think it would give people who practice that lifestyle more of a boldness.
Right.
More of a boldness to say, hey, you know, now this is legal. There's no longer that stigma attached to the act where I could go to jail, although I'm sure, again, people did not even know they could go to jail.
Right.
So it's going to give them probably more boldness. But I don't necessarily think that that law in itself, that particular act, 13 in particular, on its own, had much effect on society. So, I mean, people are making a really big deal about it. But I don't think the big deal is just that particular law being declared null and void. I think the big deal is what's to come.
Right.
Yeah. So that's my concern. What's to come, not so much what happened here. But I'm really happy though to see the churches coming together, to see the evangelicals coming together and fighting it, because it shows me that there'll be a force in the future as well among the church that will continue to fight as they try to get more and more rights, towards marriage and stuff.
A couple of my Muslim friends, and also online, I've seen they as well on board for trying to not have those
laws.
Laws.
So I'm happy that people came out and that they're gonna appeal it and so on. So in the future, when we reach to the marriage and adoption,
because I've seen the poor Buju Banton, they don't want him to come into the country.
Is that a fact? Is that a fact, Mark?
I just saw
Or is it alleged?
No, because I heard somebody say they do not want Buju Banton to come to Trinidad anymore because of his song.
Yes, right, because of his songs and
I guess to perform.
Because of
Trinidad,
the songs that he would have had.
So they are so powerful that they could stop Buju Banton. They can really stop it. That's what I'm saying. I want to know if that's a fact.
Yeah, I guess we'll see.
We'll see.
But I think certain songs being played on the radio now, people are going to even be more. I don't know if I don't hear them anymore. Really, even though I don't listen to these stations. I'm not even
going to ask you what songs.
Yeah.
Well, but you asked too about the fire band statement.
Yeah, I would like to know because I saw like a comment online saying that I wonder if I can read it, boy.
Sodom and Gomorrah, or the one about the island?
Yeah, to put all of them on island, I think blow them up, or if it will exist. So what does this say?
No, I think maybe you can read it, but I think basically what the person said is, why you don't put all of them on an island? Why you don't put all of them on an island? See let them stay there and see if they will eventually, they can't.
It's so confusing, they can't bring reading.
But we're not already on an island.
Alright, this is the person's statement, right? They say, why these people don't go and live on an island by themselves? You know what would happen if they all died out? There'll be no reproduction. Please, people, obey the law of God, or we shall all perish. So I was wondering, because this part of the segment is maybe like I would say maybe God's maybe what we believe is God's perspective. Because people read the Bible and they say Sodom and Gomorrah, go burn them out and all these kind of things, right? And actually most of the times it's not actually Christians. It's just people who hear all the kind of thing about, and most of them they just try to spew out, right? So I try to put things in really like maybe perspective of this, right? Crystal, you're not married, right? So imagine one day you get married, and maybe one day let's say a child is let's say the shock, which it would not happen, but let's say that's the scenario, right? How are you to maybe approach the situation? I'm sure you can go walk up the child and say, fire, go burn you.
No, because I think it's easy for people to say that if they are not involved in it, right? Uniquely involved in it. But in that case, it's my child. Love. I will appeal to my child in love. How are I going to look at my child that was in me for 9 months, that came out of me and grew up? I mean, if God forbid that should happen, I would definitely pray with you, talk to you, but it would be coming from a place of love. I can't see myself shunning my child or wishing them bad or anything like that, because at the end of the day, I love my child. So whatever I do, even if it's disciplinary action or even if it's me appealing to them to show them what is the right way, it will be coming from a place of love.
Okay.
I think a lot of Christians, I think even if we go back to when that law was first, 25 years, wow, that's a, you know.
Well, I don't know what she said first.
It started off as life imprisonment, sorry, death
before, yeah.
And then life and stuff. I think that generally people in society don't know, well then, back then, even more so, didn't really know how to deal with homosexuals.
Right.
It was like, these people, what they doing, let's just get rid of them.
Right.
Let's put all of them in prison, let's kill them. It was something that, you know, I guess people...
They saw as a disease?
Yes, almost.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I'm wrong about this, but I think at some point in Europe, they would declare somebody mentally unstable. Is that a fact, Alicia?
Yeah, yes. They would give them medication.
Declare them, mentally unstable and give them medication. They probably end up in some sort of asylum or, you know, whatever.
Right.
I think today, too, in the church, people still do not know how to deal with homosexuals.
Right.
They have this stigma now, and rightfully so. What they do is very unnatural, right?
Yeah.
It is unnatural, and God does say it's an abomination. But at the same time, these people can be saved.
Right.
They can change.
Well, not necessarily just only saved, but we also see people in ministry change that desire left. It's
salvation is for them too. Salvation is for them. Jesus died for the homosexual, for the fornicator, for the drug addict.
I find interesting in the video. Somebody say the gate of hell open, they're going fast, but they don't realize the gate of hell open for fornicators.
Correct, exactly.
You understand where I'm from now? So the church have this view where they actually take up a wrong position. Because I'll give an example. I remember there's maybe a statement I'll make. I don't like they say how it's a Christian view that maybe from before, right? That they say we sin fire go burn them and put them in, and actually they never see that in Jesus or even in the Bible, right? In the context of under the new covenant, we understand there's no who gonna get put to death for any of these. You know what I mean? There's God holds the judgment.
Unless they live in Dubai.
No, I just saying like in a context of like in a Christian belief under Jesus. Yeah. He actually doesn't say for any kind of crime, any kind of sin, any kind of thing.
But that was the law.
Yeah, that was saying that. So if it's to say that it comes from the Christian, that's actually kind of like maybe not fully represented, because they would say the Holocaust is the Christians. No, where God says to go and, you know what I mean? That's actually like foreign. So my point I'm trying to get is that many times Christians have a warped point of view. Within themselves, they understand that maybe is the reason why I asked before, like is maybe in our society, maybe you had viewed it as maybe before as unnatural.
It is.
So in being unnatural, like you said, maybe some people didn't even have the response. So the natural response is fire go on them.
Yeah,
that's what they think. You know what I mean? They don't know how to. So where's maybe one of the ways, like we say, how to deal with it? I don't know. What would you think is one of the ways to deal with it?
I mean, you know, having a ministry at church, and it is almost impossible now to get away from encountering somebody who's of that orientation. It's almost impossible.
Right.
People may come in the church like that, and some people you could see as they come, you could tell that there's, you know, some people are more visible with it and stuff. And, you know, before people would look, you know, they'd be like, look down on them. In fact, they want to put them out. They don't even want them in the church, right?
Right.
I disagree with that.
Right.
How else would they be saved? How else would they come to the light? How else would they come to the knowledge that what they're doing is wrong? That you know, they need repentance. So I think we owe them love, like we owe every sinner who walks through the church's door.
Right.
I think we owe them love, just like we owe the fornicator and the liar.
So would you say, well, you know, for me personally, in thinking about homosexuality, you know, I tend to say, well, what's really wrong with that? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, but, you know, we were made in the image and likeness of God. And I think with it, at its core, it's an identity issue.
It is.
It's a very deep identity issue, and I think it's also a departure from the image of God.
It is.
Right.
You know, and his even our very design.
Yes.
You know, it's
God was very specific in
like
making male and female.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a truck made to use diesel using petrol.
Right.
You know, it wasn't meant to use that, so it's like a
almost
going
like
against the design.
Yes.
That's just what I think.
I guess I think it had another element too, because what I mean is that scientifically, I guess they state that nobody can really be born gay, right? So,
yeah.
So if that is the case, then imagine like you're growing up as a child, you're hearing thoughts. I think I don't think people understand that the same way maybe a fornicator need help.
Yes.
It means that as a guy who struggle with lust, if you have to ask most men, right? If they believe they could be free from lust, they could actually just watch a girl normal and not be watching her as an object. Would you say that you free from lust? Asking. Yeah, I don't you have a mic.
Now I was thinking about something.
Yeah. So, yeah, man say, yeah.
Check your face.
I was trying to figure out where it is going on because I was reading also.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking about my next arm.
Your next arm. Yeah. So the reason why I'm saying that, right, is that imagine you're growing up from a life, 6 and you hearing thoughts about other things, and they, as parents, maybe they, with not even understanding of spiritual things, they can't even gather that those thoughts are actually not their own.
Yeah.
So they grow up from such a young age, and like Alicia was saying just now, that they even reaching that point where they say children can make their own choice. They see nothing in the world, right? Yeah. But the problem with that is that even as human, big hardback man, they even know the correct choice to make. You understand where I'm coming from? It means that within their thinking, they don't realize that it's also a spiritual element that we ignore. That is, they hear thoughts, like I'm being practical, right? The same way as a guy, you would hear thoughts and you're trying to figure out how to overcome this, because when you hear the thoughts, you actually claim it as yourself, you know. You actually think that, wait, now, I could just this is me. Yeah. This is just me now, I can't even shake off it. And hence the reason when Jesus, he said you would know the truth and it would actually set you free. It means you actually start to see yourself actually totally different. That's like, because think about it, right? Within the new covenant, you actually see nobody, when it comes to leadership, right? When it comes to anybody who's an example in the Bible, like Paul, Peter, you'd actually see these men never cheated on their wife. Well, Paul was never married, right? Yeah. It means they actually had a big shift where you would see in the Old Testament, where you'd see people, you know, people committing adultery and all kind of different things, right? But then it had this strange shift where the power of God came and started to change people from the inside out, right? And hence the reason what we are trying to maybe bring across to this point, right, is that when we think of also homosexuality, we're not just thinking of something that's just natural. We're trying to say there's also that spiritual element that needs to be dealt with. It's a voice that tells people things, because these are the actual same voices that tells maybe somebody who's a pedophile. Look at a child and find some kind of desire to go after the child. You understand where I'm from, right? But to the pedophile, he thinking, it's him. It's him. He thinking, well, watch me. How you could tell me what I seen right now is not nice or not good? Yeah. But they don't realize there's a perversion of what pleasure is. You know,
that's what I was gonna say, because again, from looking on, it have certain things they desire, like a gay couple, they would want to have children and things. Yeah. And it actually is impossible for them to have it on their own without taking some kind of weird measures now, in order to do it. So you're seeing that they think that they live in the life is pleasurable, but it's not. Right. It's not the best. God has a better life for someone who chooses that path. The reason why God have a problem with it is because he have a better life for you, and you might think that you're getting pleasure from this, but you're actually being deceived. You're actually missing out.
I actually find it very ironic that they use the word gay to describe themselves, because gay means happy. And I have encountered a lot of homosexuals when I worked at an airline years ago that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that place.
Yeah. I had dealings and worked with a lot of them, and most, if not all of them, were not gay. But I mean, they wasn't happy. They certainly appear that way on the outside. Very laughy, very, very friendly, personable people. But when you get deep and you talk with them, there's a deep emptiness and a sadness and a longing within themselves to really find out who they are. And a feeling that even though they say that this is who I am and this is what I like, it's really not true. Deep in their hearts, I've never met, well, the ones that open up to me, I've never gotten the impression that they really are happy with who they have become. You know,
and it's strange that they tend to have like the higher suicide rate.
And I'm going to say, because even though the people, they say get legal, and they still going to change their gender, they actually amongst the suicide rate is still the highest. So it means that there's still an element that people don't realize has to be dealt with. You know what I mean? Because they think it's actually society making them feel shame, which obviously, yes, if somebody tell you if I go Bonnie and all kind of there's an element of hate that shouldn't be there, right? But there's also, what they don't realize is really an internal problem that they even, so as much as they hear a voice saying, well, this is how I am, they actually hear the same voice condemning them. They catch where I'm coming from, and they don't realize that's actually how the Bible says Satan is actually the accuser of the brethren. It means he's the actual person who tells us something and accuses us. So I mean, it's like this, right? Satan will tell a man, look at the girl. You find she looking good, and as fast as he do it, It's as fast as you say, but what you not believe what you're watching girls for. It's the exact same thing that he does to everybody else, right? So, Onika, you know, Mark was saying about God design, right? I think obviously within God's design, I want to hear maybe, you know, when you think about love, right? And in context of maybe our family, what that looks like. What would maybe that somebody who struggle with this, with something that it may be God's perspective that maybe you see that maybe they're missing out on. If it is really, because maybe they're thinking, well, me missing out on, I like this person. What is, from the idea of God's love, you think they're really missing out, I ask him?
Well, first of all, I think the first big obvious one is the fact that they cannot be fruitful. Right. That they cannot multiply, that they can bring forth they can't look at a child, if that's the lifestyle that you choose. You could never look into the face of a child and say, this child came from me, from my seed, from, you know, that's something, so you miss out on that blessing immediately. To have a generation, so you would have no generation after you. Your name, you end, that's it, right? That's, to me, that's a big blessing. And even though they are deceived, they, as I think it's either Mark, one of yours talk about the pleasure that they think that they're experiencing. I believe God was very intentional in how he designed a woman physically and how he designed a man. And the pleasure that was meant to come from a man and a woman having sexual intercourse, I am sure I'll never know, is different from what they experience, right? So it's like a false pleasure, right? And I think the way God designed things, he's intentional. He knows what he's doing. So you're going away from the natural design of God, his natural purpose for us as, you know, male and female. So there's so much that they will just never really experience.
They'll never experience that. Maybe just a simple thing like you're saying, seeing a child. Because like one of the things that I guess, even if the law was to stray from God, they will always have an answer that maybe spiritually that nobody can answer, right? There's the answer. What I mean by that, right? Is that when a child grows up in a broken family, they themselves don't even know what they're missing. When it is they grow up with just their mom or just their dad, they don't even fully know the answer to what it is like to have a mom or what it is like to have a dad. And even in, let's say two homosexuals adopt a child, they don't even know what it is. Let's say one of them really had a child and is really, and they come into this situation, the next partner would never know it is truly from that child to look at them and see them as part of them. You catch what I mean? There's something that's always be within us, and it's actually like we say in God created is the exact when in Bible says we actually created in God's image and likeness, is actually in everything, right? Which means that when God looked at us, he created us in love. And hence the reason why when we don't see love, we feel almost a sense of hurt, emptiness. So in the same essence actually with family, when it is you actually don't see the fullness of our family, there's an emptiness and a void that actually, it cannot just not be fulfilled. What that means is like, you know, you have a child, isn't it natural when you look at your daughter, there's a beauty that came from, just knowing that this came, you know, your baby came from you.
Something just came to me too.
Wow.
One of the
well, I know the baby came from you, so over here where this came from, there you
go. Listen, God in his wisdom designed women with breasts, right? To breastfeed. One of the purposes is to breastfeed a baby, to have a baby breastfeed, to get nutrients from the mother. So if you as a gay couple adopt a child, whether it's two women or two, well maybe, you know,
the technicalities.
So let's say let's use two men. I mean, that is something that you're robbing a child of, that that child will never experience. And then their maternal, just natural nurturing things that a woman have that a man just really not meant. It's so unnatural, you know, to see a man trying to act like a woman, you know, and a child, it's really unnatural. And actually, you know what, that's unnatural and it might be disturbing for some people to see, but more so even a woman trying to be a man. It's so sad to see a young woman, you know, with her posture, you know, man, and trying to fight being feminine with all her might. It makes me sad. Because I know it's really, as you said, it's an identity problem. And a lot of people, again, being involved in ministry, when we encounter people that are homosexual or have desires, it started somewhere. People say they're born that way. Most of the people we encountered went through some abuse. Right? They went through some abuse as a child. They were raped. I know a young woman who went through rape and abuse, and she just hated men and wanted nothing. So why would I ever want to be with a man if this is all men are good for? If my uncle and my neighbor, and this is right. So her thing was now, well, men no good, so women.
Right. Yeah.
And so even though they tried, a lot of them tell you, this is just how I am. A lot of them, it comes from somewhere.
Yeah. Right.
And even the ones who say they were born that way, I believe that they could believe that they were born that way.
Of course.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to fight them down and say, no, it was. I believe that they really genuinely believe so because from the time they know themselves.
We actually know somebody like that there. Yeah. And when we was, to get a little specific, right? When we was praying for the person parents went and do something by a Obia person.
Yeah.
Because they wanted from birth a daughter. A daughter. And when the boy was born, something spiritually came upon him. Yeah. And the person actually named the son a girl name. The first name was a girl name.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually wanted
because they wanted a girl.
Yeah.
So he grew up that way.
He grew up with actually a spiritual element. I'll give you an example. It's like how a woman, a woman or a man could be promiscuous that come from their parents. Mm-hmm. You can try from there certain things that they grew up with, there's certain thoughts, a pattern of spiritual things, right? Yeah. But anyhow, anything going on online that maybe
Yeah, for sure. We have some comments. Thanks so much for your comments, guys. Let me just find my way all the way back down.
That we all the way?
All the way back down.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm reading on top as we through the show. All right, we had something from Natalie Sutherland Lashley. She said, I knew it was against the law, but like so many other laws, it was ignored. It certainly wasn't stopping people from doing what they wanted to do, which is what Nix was saying earlier. Let me see. Karen Narayan, he said, we have had and have numerous people in our ministry that were homosexuals who are now beautiful children of God. We all needed changing. Ryan Williams, he said, what they call a lifestyle, God already calls sin. Menachem Shivanan said, I think people tend to focus on the sin and not the sinner. God can forgive all sins once we accept him into our hearts. If we were to approach someone who commits that specific sin with violence, how are we to bring them to Christ? Which is a great comment. Good night to you, Menachem. Jabwood Blackman said, do you actually see another subculture developing? And well, I guess this is a question.
Of course.
Yeah. We had Ryan Williams saying, I believe crime will increase because of this, not to mention that Jamaicans are among us.
Crime?
Yeah, like people
who are against it.
Long ago, remember they used to beat people, and I think they used to have,
We also had from Mark Alberts. He said, people knows right from wrong, and it's humans that make their own life a living hell. With man and woman only, multiplication can take place. Homosexuality is demonic, it's wrong, and is a sin. Jaywood Blackman, does it not state in Bible terms, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the end? Let me see. We had some great comments from Eniala, so I'm going to go through those now. Good night to you, Eniala. She says that they compartmentalize sin. We are born in a fallen world. Satan is a deceiver, and he makes people think that is their identity. She also said this is an identity issue. It's a tendency with demons attached to it. She said, I remember thinking once that no two adults could have a relationship without physical intimacy. And after giving my heart to the Lord, God edified me, showed me his view. God's ways are so much better.
That is awesome.
Indeed. Mark Albert also said people get those orientation because of abuse, bad company, movies, fears, etc. But the church can pray for that person and give counseling, and then that person can be restored fully and set free, which is what we were just saying.
Right.
Lisa Ferguson, good night to you. She commented, said good night, so good night right back to you, Lisa. Eniala also said the enemy is such a lie. He tested the word himself. Jared Blackman said, I appreciate this panel discussion, and Jared Blackman, you are actually the winner of my next giveaway. So big up to you, Jared Blackman. Tuesday voucher. Alright, so remember, we actually have more giveaways. We have that very special giveaway which will be given away at the end of the show. And again, guys, that was sponsored by Carl's Construction. Anything you need construction-wise, you call that number 3852775, alright? Before we go back to Kyle, let me see. We had some other comments here. We had Dion Force here. He said, now it's becoming a style, like the instinct to have your girlfriend having a girlfriend.
Yeah,
sad
that
boy,
is also
well,
very common.
Imagine your boyfriend having a girlfriend.
Your girlfriend
and
have
your
a girlfriend.
Having a girlfriend. That comes from the kind of music about, that comes from the kind of music out there. Dion also said, Salva Plenty want to find their way out, which is what we were talking about just now. Kerwin says, that's how LGBTQ plus becomes the whole alphabet. Marriage could become 2 men, 2 women, 3 men, 2 women, and 1 man. When we remove God, someone then begins to play God. Sadly, we lose a place of moral reference and anything is permissible. Child marriage, animal marriage, yes. Computer marriage.
Tree marriage.
Apparently there's tree marriage. Let me see.
Yeah. Somebody married the Eiffel Tower.
Eiffel Tower marriage. You can marry buildings.
You ain't sure they marry somebody named Eiffel Tower? I don't know, you know what I mean?
No, Eiffel Tower marriage with this guy. And he also said, I don't like the term gay marriage because to me, God's intention of marriage is male and female. Alright guys, so coming on to the very end. We are coming on to the end. Remember, you could still post any questions you have with regards to the law because Miss George is still here. And we also still have that very special giveaway. And I have one more Häagen-Dazs voucher for some lucky person. Alright guys, or some blessed person, I should say some blessed person. Yeah, we have Vanessa Richards. Good night to you. First time online, edifying discussion. Good night to you. Give me another comment now, Vanessa. Maybe I might give you the Häagen-Dazs voucher. Alright, so Kyle, taking it back to you now.
Alright, cool. You know, one of the things I'd like to maybe stress on again as we finish off, right, is that do you think it's going to solve anything by saying fire upon them?
No, of course
not. I find it real annoying that a person will take a Christian stance and show this kind of hate.
I would have to say it comes across as hate.
Because they don't realize that is actually making people
empowering
them to make your reasonings false.
Yeah.
You get where I'm coming from, that actually making people again empowered to actually make the statement. So because the real thing is, if it is really because you realize is if you really care about people, they actually would like a change, right? And I hope as believers, as Christians, we actually want to empower people to actually change. You know, to experience the benefits of what God has for them. Like we said, our family, love, growing up in the things of the Lord in that kind of in the natural sense. Because I find, to be honest, I find from some of the like even the video.
Yeah, some harsh.
I find it was just annoying.
No,
you know what I mean? I'm not even songing, you know.
But Kyle, it might be easy for them to say those harsh comments when it goes back to the comment that I said. If any of those persons had a daughter or a son, the son come and tell them, Daddy, I have these feelings, I think I might be gay. Would you look at your son and say, fire burn you?
Right.
You know, it's not easy to, because you're on the outside, it's easy to take that, you know, that sort of righteous opinion. But I think at the end of the day, it boils down to love, how we will deal with them. And something I wanted to say as well. You know, they say that love is love. Why should we question how anybody should love? If somebody wants to love a tree, let them love a tree. If somebody wants to love the Eiffel Tower, who are we to tell them how to love? But how do you know what love is?
Right.
How long are you on the earth? Right. Love looks like something, and our reference for love comes from love itself, which is God. Right. And God showed his love for us in that he died for us. He sent his son for us. He sacrificed his life for us. And in that, we know what love is. So I think for them, they have a distorted view of what love is. And because they don't know God in that way, they think what they experience in is love, when really and truly it's really not true love.
They're trying to take God out of love.
Well,
and it can't, because God is love.
Well, that is actually not just a debate necessary just dealing with homosexuality. That's a debate in the whole world, right? Because when it is, once you lose sight of who God is, you lose sense of morality. Because and actually go back to actually place of where Adam and Eve carried us into, which is God told them, don't eat of the tree of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil, else from that you'll be like God. And with men then, is that they will become, one of the definitions of who God is he decides what is right and wrong. It means, and when he gave up, when Adam and Eve sinned, what they actually did was they decided to choose what is right and wrong for me. You can't tell me what is the fruit, but that don't mean anything. That just means on the governance of the earth, it means God gave the earth to man. It means that man decided to choose what is right and wrong, but God always had his opinion. So that's the reason he did things, he chose things, and you know, it's strange. You know, we call it all kind of judgment, right? But in the Bible it says judgment starts first now with the believers, right? So when God look at all these situations happening, he not studying everybody else. He actually studying. All right, he like you know, can give you know, our guests a round of applause again. Let me give a round of applause because what he looks at is not the homosexual things alone. No. What he looks at is what the Christians doing. You understand? Because when we die, one of the things you would ask us is what you had a position, you had a say, what you actually do. Yeah, and how did you actually do it? So the Bible says we hold our account. Did you do it? So like say, boy, fire up and hate them? Or was it really a solution? What was the end product of what he was doing? Was it actually to change somebody's life, or was it to just put them in a box in a corner and say, get rid of you? You know what I mean? No, because you could apply that to any aspect of life, right? So you know, as we close off, Eva, you take the rest.
Can I say something real quick? Because I keep forgetting, right?
That the big truck outside beeping, but go ahead,
ignoring it. Yeah. You asked me a question about the church and how we have to deal with homosexuals, right? And I said we owe them love, like we do any other sinner, anybody who walks through the church doors, right? I would have to also say though that there's also like another end of it where churches now are accepting homosexuals into the church.
Actually wrong way, right?
When I say accepting, not that they're accepting them into the church. Of course they're allowed to come in the church, but I mean they're making them as they are a part of their ministry, a part of their worship team. So if I know somebody is coming to my church and that person still is struggling with homosexuality, maybe still has a partner that they, you know, or you still have an attraction, it's still a struggle for you. You cannot, I will not put you as a worship leader. I wouldn't be able to have you involved in ministry. You can't be involved with children. We actually had an incident here with someone who was like that, who was of that persuasion, and we noticed them whispering into a little boy's ears during a worship service, right? And we went and we knew the person was like that. They just started coming. When we pulled we pulled him away, the little boy, you know, because we knew he was like, and we were like, what was he telling you? Now, this is while worship is going on, right? He went up to the little boy and told him something. Nobody heard because it's loud. When we asked him, what did he say to you? He chose during the worship service to go and ask that little boy, do you ever have thoughts of homosexuality? Like you ever felt like you like a man, a boy, right? So as a church now, what is our responsibility? Yes, we have to love the homosexual, but we have to protect that boy. And so if that's what you come into the church and you do, and you're trying to sow seeds, what you're trying to do is sow seeds in the little boy's mind, right? We have to take a stance now against you. We have to decide if you're really here to change or if you're really here on an agenda, which some of them can have. So yes, of course, we welcoming them into the church. Come, we want you to be saved, please. But from the time you realize that you are trying to push an agenda, and it's not that you really want truth, then things will change. Then, you know, love has all forms. Love is nice and huggy and thing, but there are other types of loves too.
Where you would want somebody to protect your child from any kind of cause,
right? Here what? I think you need to rock so until you decide what, you know,
we want to thank everybody for viewing and, you know, commenting, and I would encourage everybody who may be listening, if you have somebody you want to share it with, after the show could be up, you would hear any questions you want to answer, they could still put it up and we will answer a question I even ask after. Like whoever watch it, we would actually comment after the segment or the show, or any case may be, right? So Eva, you want to close it off and...
Yep, so we have, I'm going to read some more comments, guys, and then we'll officially end, alright? So we had Aniala. She said LGBT or LMNOP, we love you and we want you to experience everything that God has for you. His ways are better.
LGBT or LMNOP.
So basically she's saying she loves all of you and she wants the best for all of you. We had Atsu Jones. His comment is, I don't believe the church should try to force people to conform to any of their beliefs. We live in a democracy, not a theocracy, and people are free to choose. Don't impose laws that will target or affect a certain group negatively simply because your Christian belief tells you it's wrong. I think we must also go backwards and think about why the law was put in place and whether it is achieving that the person who put it there wanted it to achieve, and also whether it fits the reality of these times. We had Darren Dockwell. He said, even though I don't believe in the concept that a person can be born gay, I sometimes think about the scripture that says that we were born in sin and shaped in iniquity.
Very right, yeah.
Let's see, who else we have? Jared Blackman said, no, it won't solve anything. We need to be sensitized as a nation. I guess that was in response to probably something that we were talking about. Yeah. Risa Mack and Grace Alec, good night to you and welcome to the show. We ending, but you know, welcome. We had a comment from Vanessa Richards. She made a comment after I told her she should make one. She said, if I get the voucher, it will feel strange. It is my first time on the live feed. Plus, my girl Crystal is on the panel. I just love what you guys are doing and glad the Holy Spirit guided me to log in on tonight. Caught you all live and be a part of this. So, a very special good night to you, Vanessa Richards, that you're finally here and part of the show. So, Kevin actually commented in response to Atsu Jones' comment. He says, I don't believe it is a matter of forcing people to conform. It is a matter of law and civil society. We might all agree right now that a big man being with a 7-year-old child is wrong. However, perhaps in the next 30 years, society might find this action is acceptable. So you are right. You are right. We are in a democracy which expresses the will of humanity. Presently, I believe that the majority of our society is against gay marriage. However, no matter what we think is legal or right or wrong, there is a God who will judge humanity from a place of love. So that was in response to Atsu Jones. I don't know if you all wanted to add anything to that.
No.
Risa Mark said, awesome topic. Holy Spirit reign. Jared Blackman, well done, I'm proud. And let me say a good night to Janelle Suklal Mahadeo. Some of you are probably viewing and you're now commenting and saying hi, so good night to all of you. I don't necessarily see when you all are there, but when you comment, I can see it, right? So for all of you who are here and looking at the stream, good night to you, even though I can't see your name, right? So, the next giveaway, we have the Häagen-Dazs voucher. I made up my mind on who I give it this, so you know, but I forget. So I'm gonna go ahead with the camera, the 4K camera, sports camera. The winner of this awesome giveaway
Kyle Joseph
is not Kerwin or Kyle Joseph, but it's actually Manakim. You are the winner. You are the winner of that awesome camera. And for the Häagen-Dazs voucher, who was it for? Well, I can't remember. That's sad boy. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to Vanessa Richards. It was your first time viewing.
Well, look at that.
You are the winner. See how easy that was. Make sure at 7:30 every other Saturday you view, so you can probably win something again, alright?
We have any more nice Ruby Tuesday vouchers?
No, I gave out all the vouchers.
Oh, okay. Do we have any more
Sorry,
vouchers?
There's nothing left for you.
I would like to give our guests something nice to, you know?
Oh, our guests.
It's not for me. I asked a question.
I thought it was for you. Sorry. Sorry, Kyle.
We'll be giving it.
But to everyone viewing online, thank you so much for being part of the show. And remember, guys, that the video will always be there. It will be posted on our page. So you feel free to share it to all of your friends. And I actually want to say a special good night to anyone who may be viewed the show tonight from the LGBT community, or maybe going to view it eventually. A special good night to you, and I really pray that you receive and you see that we are coming from a place of love and not to condemn or to hate or anything like that. So I really hope that you receive and always remember that you all are free to inbox us, okay? And there's always people behind the scenes who are ready to message you, to respond to you, to, you know, to communicate with you guys. So remember, you feel free to inbox us privately if you don't want to message publicly. Feel free, alright? And thank you so much for being part of this show. Remember, every other Saturday, share, comment on YouTube, subscribe. Remember to subscribe, guys, and remember to like our page, alright? Good night. It was awesome having you. I hope you have a blessed night. Too soon, Crystal, with the clapping there. I hope you have a blessed night and good night to everyone. Thank you so much for being part of this show. I hope you really enjoyed it. You can go on over to our YouTube channel and click subscribe. You can also click on that bell at the bottom and you'll be able to get live notifications. For our Facebook viewers, remember to like, comment, and share, guys. Thank you so much for being part of the show. And if you'd like to come on down and be part of our live audience, we are located at number 12 Anna Street, Woodbrook. Have a great night. Thank you for being part of the show. Good night.